Which common Vietnam War facts are actually myths? Imagine thinking you know everything about the Vietnam War and then discovering many of those stories are not quite true. It's like a puzzle with pieces that don't fit. Today, we're going to clear up some of the biggest myths about the war and see what really happened. First, a common belief is that only poor, uneducated Americans fought in Vietnam. But that's not true. About 2/3 of the soldiers were volunteers, not draftees. Most had at least a high school diploma, and many were college-educated. They were among the best prepared troops the United States had sent into combat. Next, people often think the Viet Cong were a tiny, weak force. Actually, they were highly organized and fought fiercely. The North Vietnamese army was also well-trained and committed. The South Vietnamese army fought hard too, especially during major battles like the Tet Offensive, where they inflicted heavy losses on the enemy. Now many remember the tragic photo of Kim Phuc, the girl burned by napalm. But what many don't know is that the photo was taken after a North Vietnamese bombing, not an American attack. This changes how we see that moment. Another myth is about the fall of Saigon. Some believe the United States soldiers stormed the U.S. embassy during the chaos. In reality, the famous image shows civilians evacuating from a building, not a military retreat from the embassy. When it comes to why the United States lost, some say it was because of military failure. But the truth is, the U.S. military actually won many battles. The war ended because the political situation in South Vietnam collapsed after the U.S. withdrew in 1973. There's also a myth that returning Vietnam veterans were spat on and hated. But most stories show that was not common. Many veterans faced challenges, but widespread hostility was exaggerated or used for political reasons later on. People often think the war was unwinnable. But military leaders believed different strategies could have led to victory. The Viet Cong were weakened after the Tet Offensive, and the idea that the war was impossible to win is not entirely accurate. Lastly, some say the domino theory was false. But during the 1960s, many believed that if one country fell to communism, others nearby would too. The U.S. effort in Vietnam aimed to stop that spread, and in some cases, it did help keep countries like Indonesia and the Philippines free from communism. And what about veterans? Many think most suffered from homelessness or PTSD. While some did face struggles, the numbers are often exaggerated. Most veterans went on to lead successful lives. So, understanding what's true and what's myth helps us see the Vietnam War more clearly. It was a complex event with many layers, and separating fact from fiction shows us how history is often more nuanced than it seems.